from the News Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. I'm so glad you're with us tonight. We are talking about building Nashville's brand in the movie industry. Basically, we're talking with a council member about what she is thinking needs to happen along those lines as far as a Nashville Entertainment Commission. But we can talk about anything related to the Metro Council. Happy to have with us Metro Councilmember Joy Styles, District 32. Thank you for being here.
It is a pleasure to actually see you again, sir, since we met before I was on council.
It's true. I mean, we met on a story that I was doing about these rental companies that are coming in, these Wall Street rental companies. And so we can talk about that.
Yes, we have to.
That's a big issue that you're following. But the other thing we're talking about is this Nashville Entertainment Commission.
Correct.
Right? So the mayor has set aside some money for an office.
Yes, an office of music, film, and entertainment. And so, over the last year and some change, I spent a lot of time speaking with different film offices and film and music offices. So, for example, Seattle and Tulsa both have film and music offices. Savannah, Austin, New Orleans, Atlanta, they have just straight film offices. But figuring out, okay, how did you create that? Was it done with the mayor? Was it done as a nonprofit entity? How are you financing that? What is the dedicated line of funding? And so figuring out how can we do that here because we desperately need it. So the creation of the office, so I did bring the idea to Mayor Cooper and say, what about an all-encompassing entertainment office? And I was grateful that he liked the idea. I'm grateful that he has dedicated some funding to the office. It needs more funding, for sure. And what I'm proposing now is a commission. And so oftentimes you'll find an office also will have a commission that works in conjunction. And so the commission, they're unpaid, but these are pretty much titans within their own industries that can advise and support marketing and promoting those cities.
Can this pay for itself? And what's the goal? Is it to be like a Georgia? When you said you talked to Savannah, that's fascinating because they've had all kinds of movies. But what is the goal, and can this pay for itself?
So the goal would be, with the commission, to be clear, it is a separate entity. So you're talking about having executives as well as lay people that are working on these projects and knowing what's out there to be able to entice them to come to Tennessee, specifically come to Nashville to want to work. The office itself would have a budget. It would have staff. With that, then you're talking about what are you doing with your programming? How are you engaging the community? How are you engaging schools? We have so many schools here in town that most people don't know. Belmont has a phenomenal film program. So how do we tie in a new office of music, film, and entertainment to existing film programs? MTSU, of course, has an amazing recording facility, but also film as well. So there are a lot of connections that can be made. We need to have one-stop shopping. So the creation of the commission will further facilitate that. But they are two separate entities, so I know it's easy to get the two confused.
Right. And what we're talking about in Georgia has generated a lot of money.
Oh my gosh.
So when I ask if it could pay for itself, you feel like it could pay for itself. If it could generate some of the money that Georgia's getting, this would be...
So if you're talking about the office, most certainly.
Yeah.
Because what we should be focused on is getting that business right now that maybe can't get into Georgia because Georgia is booked. They make $1 million a year on permits alone for their film office. So clearly we're not looking to make $1 million the first year, but we want to make inroads. And I can say, in doing the research, I have done a forecast for the first 2 years of the office that easily can bring us into $500,000. So we're approaching that level. There are so many people that want to work here, but one of the problems that we have is that our current system is very unfriendly. And so you have to go around to multiple departments to get permissions, and then if something comes up, you realize, oh my gosh, we actually need to turn this hydrant off or turn it on, or we need to turn these lights off on this particular street. Then you have to go back and figure out who are you supposed to talk to. We don't have any of that structured right now. But with the creation of an office, we begin to streamline. We can create a website that has a directory of all our producers, all of our directors, all of our makeup artists, all of our stylists. So anyone out of town that's saying, Nashville might be a fun place to shoot, let me look on their website and see what they offer. In addition to that, there's a platform called Real Scout Real Scout helps with location scouting. And so if you're coming from out of town, you've never been to Nashville, it would be a great thing for us to have that, to go to our Nashville website, look at the Office of Music, Film, and Entertainment, and figure out sites that you might want to go to in advance.
I remember when the TV show Nashville was being filmed around town, and that was a big deal. Is that your goal, to get TV shows like that, or is it movies, or is it just independent films?
Everything. It's independent films, it's documentaries, it's commercials, it's feature films, independent films. We have a lot to offer throughout Davidson County. As you know, we have our metro area downtown, but it only takes you a couple minutes to get into a more rural area, and that can suffice as a different location entirely as if you were in another state, right? And so when you're shooting a project, that's what you want. You want to have variety to be able to tell the story. And right now, it's very difficult. So if you want to come into town, or if you want to go outside of town, there really isn't a way to facilitate those needs. We're starting to see more entities coming here. So we have virtual reality, digital media coming. There's a 40-acre studio that's being built right now in Hendersonville. And so with those entities, it's like, oh, we need to be prepared. We're about to have a lot of people coming, and we want to know, how are we serving them best so that they'll come back? Does the state have something like this? So when I look down to our south of Georgia, they are huge. They've had all kinds of movies. Yes.
It's like $1 billion. There's tons of money down there, lots of movies down there. So there must be a state entity down there. Do we have a state entity in Tennessee? And does this Nashville office or commission work with the state? How does that work? So the answer to your question is yes. And so Bob Raines is over that office. And so he has created a Tennessee Entertainment Commission. And so there is a tax incentive for all of these new entities that are coming. In fact, recently they added some additional industries that would be able to benefit from incentives. And so the state can offer an incentive, but cities can also offer incentives. And so that's one of the things that I want to talk to the mayor about as we're talking about the full creation of this office. What are the soft incentives that Nashville can offer? Because at the end of the day, we're not fully competing with Georgia because we can't, right? They're offering 30% rebates. No other state is giving that. But what we can do is figure out, what does Nashville offer that's unique and different to a smaller project that wants to shoot, can't get into Atlanta, but still wants to have a great Southern vibe. We're one state up. So we want to invite them to come and welcome them. So what is the secret to Georgia's success? Is it the incentives? Is that a big part of it? It's a massive part of it, because if you come to town, you're talking about your rental facilities, all the money you're spending on food and lodging, all of that, a good chunk is coming back to you when you spend in Georgia. And the thing about Georgia is the state does work very well with the city of Atlanta in terms of providing incentives for projects to come to town. So my hope would be that, yes, we create the Nashville Entertainment Commission, and of course, this is an opportunity for us to do something that we rarely get to do: work well with the state. Yeah, that is rare. That is rare. And so with that, if we can create a bridge between the state, what they're offering, what we want to offer, and certainly if a project comes to town and we say, okay, well, we don't have the soft incentives, can you help us? That's something that Memphis does. Memphis does a lot of shooting. Memphis has NBC shows, Netflix movies. They have been chugging along for 25 years. They do a better job than Nashville? They actually have an office. Okay. They have had an office for 25 years, which is why they're getting the amount of projects that they're getting. And so Nashville has had fits and starts of offices. And so the goal right now is, one, to create a commission that can stand the test of time, but also to create an office that can stand the test of time. And truthfully, in order for that to happen, you really need to have an office that exists outside of the purview of a mayoral system that can fluctuate and change every 4 to 8 years. You need to be able to have someone that's in that office that can create some consistency with mayoral support, of course, but not something that changes so often. And so that's one of the frustrations that people have had here in town in the industry, is the inconsistency that we've had in the past. We already have some calls. Let's go to Ann. I believe Ann is there. Hello, Ann?
Yes, good evening. I'm glad to hear this conversation is taking place, but I'd like to go one step beyond and I had a child that left this state to go to California when she went off to school. And she did that primarily acting school. So something that we need to have more of in this area. We have it for the music, but we don't have it in the theater arts as far as the acting schools. And if you leave this area for your education, you're not coming back. That same child has done her own movie, and she's in New York now.
Good for her.
As much as it breaks my heart, I knew when I left her in California, getting her back was going to be the challenge. So don't stop with just the Entertainment Commission, but also work on getting our credentials in our schools, because that's where you need to have the bridge. So I'll leave it for more calls.
All right, Ann, thank you. There's a mom who wants her kid back.
Well, I have to say, I'm so grateful for your call, because my background is in entertainment. So before I moved here, I actually was an actress in New York doing film, music, musicals, plays, and here I was a recording artist prior to being on council. Weird transition, weird transition. But Anna will tell you that it's something that I'm working on right now. So the Global Mall that is out in Antioch, one of the things in the purchase that the city made, I asked for us to get an Antioch Performing Arts Center so that we could bring arts to the public that does not have an opportunity to have access. And I would love to continue working on strengthening our theater scene, because all of our theater companies they're pretty much homeless. They have to move. Every single show goes to another location. So I promise you, Ann, I am definitively working on the theater aspect of Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm really grateful that you called in.
I'm interested, you've traveled around and you've talked to offices in other cities. So
Yes.
You mentioned Memphis, you mentioned Savannah. What does Savannah have, and what can we do, what can we learn from Savannah or Austin?
So Savannah's a little bit different than Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta is a huge metropolitan area. Savannah is more unique, and it has a niche market. So you're dealing with a lot more of the beach scenes, a much more laid back vibe in terms of the South, whereas Atlanta is still a city and thriving and much more fast paced. And so Savannah also works with the state. So there's the Savannah Film Commission. Atlanta has a film office. Savannah's Film Commission also works with the state in terms of their incentives and the projects that they get. And Savannah does get a lot of projects as well.
And the state, you said this is a chance for us to work with the state. Is the state okay with this? Do they say,
Yes.
please do this?
I have had several conversations with Bob Raines in pulling this together, talking not only about the creation of the Office of Music, Film, and Entertainment, but then also talking about the creation of a commission for Nashville. Because it would only make sense that we're able to work together for both entertainment commissions, and what does that look like? And so those are conversations to take place for the future as well.
Well, that kind of sets the table for our discussion. So what do you think? Does Nashville need an entertainment commission? What about this office in the mayor's office, a film and entertainment office? That's what we're talking about. Also, really anything to do with the council. There's tons going on there. So we're talking with Councilmember Joy Styles. Take a break. Be back right after this.